So, what happens when something that's supposed to be a symbol of ultimate power actually becomes a source of pure terror? Well, today we're going to dive into a story that's all about paranoia and political backstabbing, all wrapped up in ancient folklore. This is The Cursed Crown of Eldoria. Right off the bat, the story hits you with this line. And this tells you everything. We're not just talking about some fancy piece of jewelry here. No, this is about a judgment from beyond the grave. The whole conflict isn't just who gets to be king, it's about who is worthy, especially in the eyes of these ancient, unseen powers. And this is really the heart of the whole thing. It just completely blurs the line between a real, supernatural haunting and a very clever, very calculated political attack. So you're left wondering, is the king actually losing his mind, or is someone making him lose his mind? All right, so let's get into it. Our story kicks off with King Victor. Now, this is a guy who's basically haunted by his own inheritance. That crown he's wearing, to him, it doesn't feel like a symbol of power. It feels more like this unbearable, cursed weight on his head. And the setting here is just fantastic. It adds this whole other layer of depth. The palace in Eldoria, it's not some generic fantasy castle, right? Its design is actually inspired by the ancient ruins of Great Zimbabwe, a real-world center of power. And that choice is so smart. It's not just for looks. It really grounds all these themes of legacy and ancestral judgment in a super rich, authentic cultural context. So, from day one, Victor inherits the throne with this huge cloud of suspicion hanging over him. I mean, first, there's the crown itself. It's supposed to be a blessing, but everyone whispers that it's cursed. Then you've got his father's death. It wasn't poison, not a simple assassination. They called it a spectral affliction. And now Victor is the one seeing shadows, hearing these weird scratching noises. You can just feel the paranoia starting to creep in. Okay, so to really get why Victor is so terrified, we need to dig into the actual folklore that's haunting these palace halls. Because these aren't your generic run-of-the-mill ghosts. We're talking about really powerful entities pulled straight from Southern African traditions. First up, we have the Amadlozi. Now, don't think of them as these sweet, benevolent angels. It's better to think of them as powerful, always watching ancestors. Yeah, they'll protect you, but they demand respect. If you start ignoring the proper rituals, well, that guidance can turn into some serious wrath real fast. And that puts this constant, immense pressure on the king. And then there's the Takoloshe. This is this nasty, gremlin-like creature. But here's the most important detail, the real kicker. A Takoloshe isn't just some random monster that shows up. It's almost always summoned by someone who wants to cause harm. So right away, that plants a seed in your mind. Maybe this supernatural threat is actually being controlled by a very human enemy. And here's where you see just how real this stuff is for people in this world. Victor's fear isn't just in his head. No way. It's so real that he takes a very practical physical step to protect himself, something straight out of folklore. He puts his bed up on bricks. The supernatural is literally changing his physical world. So as you can imagine, these fears that have been simmering in the background, they don't stay there for long. Things start to escalate, and those vague threats become way more direct, way more terrifying. You can almost feel the walls closing in on the king. I mean, just look at how things ramp up. It starts with those nightly sounds, that constant scratching from under his bed. That's personal, internal fear. Then it becomes a physical intrusion, an ominous, sharp knock at his door. After that, it gets political, with a threatening letter written in runes. And finally, a guttural scream from inside the vault, the most secure part of the entire palace. That circle of safety around him is just shrinking and shrinking. And that letter, wow, it says, "The ancestors rage. The throne draws the imp. Flee or face the wrath." I mean, this is just a masterclass in psychological warfare. It perfectly combines the two things Victor fears the most, the angry Amadlozi and the Tokoloshi. This whole thing, this unsigned warning, it's designed to do one thing, push him right to his breaking point. So where does this all lead? Well, the final showdown doesn't happen on some grand battlefield with armies clashing. Nope. It all comes down to a confrontation in the king's own chambers. It's here, in this really intimate space, that he's forced to face the true, terrifying nature of what's been haunting him. And then you get this incredible moment. The guard captain, with his dying breath, basically hands Victor the key that unlocks the whole mystery. He gasps out, "Not poison, Tokoloche." And then he reveals the most shocking part. The mirror summons it. A mirror is being used as a portal. So how in the world do you use a mirror as a weapon? Well, the story breaks down the dark ritual for us, step by step. You need some malevolent herbal magic, called muti. You need a reflective surface to act as a portal. And then you need to speak a specific incantation. The point is, this isn't just random chaos. This is a systematic, carefully planned, magical attack. And when Victor finally confronts his own reflection, the details are just so chilling. I mean, it's his face, but wrong. It's twisted. His talisman earring dangles the wrong way. His features are kind of hairy, and his eyes are glowing. It's this brilliant mix of that classic evil twin horror idea, but fused with the specific folklore of the Tokoloche as a shapeshifter. And then the final piece of the puzzle falls into place. The villain is revealed, and it comes from the last person you'd expect. Elias, the king's most trusted advisor. He confesses to the whole thing. He wasn't just some messenger of doom, he was the one who planned it all. He even claims he made a bargain with the Amadlozi themselves to take the throne. But, just because we found out who the traitor is doesn't mean we get a simple, happy ending. Not at all. Sure, Elias was the architect of all this, but the curse he unleashed, it's far from over. The immediate human threat might be gone, but the very foundation of the throne is still cracked. And the creature, that Tokoloche twin, it's never really defeated. It just dissolves into mist, and you can hear its cackle echoing through the room, basically promising that it'll be back. So Elias might be dealt with, but the dark magic he used, the curse itself, that's still out there, just waiting for another chance. Which leaves us with this really haunting final question. Yeah, Victor survived, and he's holding the crown, but the source of the curse was never actually destroyed. So has he really won? Or has he just reset the clock on his own destruction? The story really leaves you feeling that for whoever wears that crown, power and paranoia are just a vicious cycle, forever bound to the cursed crown of Eldoria.